You're saying this is my fault?
No, I would never say that, regardless of how true it is.
I'm 28 and single. You're saying this is my fault? Okay, before we go into this video, quick note, I'll be having some Call of Duty gameplay going over this video, as well as some LeBron James highlights so you guys have something to watch, since I know COD-type videos are doing pretty well with the algorithm at the moment, so I'll give it a shot. And I have a really good LeBron James analogy that I mentioned towards the end of the video that actually matches this topic fairly well, hence why I will also be cycling through LeBron highlights. Otherwise, most of this video will just be an image of my thumbnail or stock videos relating to dating, which I know most people don't want to watch. I'm aware a lot of people listen to my videos, but I figure for those of you who are watching, I'll give you something decent to watch in case you are the type to watch videos instead. There will be some of my usual visuals, obviously, but based on this script, this video will probably be longer than an hour and a half. So this will be a nice one to just have on whilst you do something else, or to sit down and watch some stuff whilst listening to my opinions on today's topic. Some of these COD videos were generated by AI. Yes, they have watermarks on it. I'm too cheap at the moment to buy the watermark-free versions. Maybe if these type of videos do well, then maybe I'll consider paying for the watermark removal. Some are taken from the game. Some are using royalty-free gameplay. It's all good. No copyright issues here. Especially since I'm not really plagiarizing anyone's content, I'll give credit where I got them from. But the content I'm getting is from someone who's used a game they didn't invent or a game they didn't create to make their own content. Or the content creator from the LeBron highlights, well, they didn't play in the NBA. They're using content from a game they didn't play. So I'm not sure if that makes sense, but the point is we're all good with copyright here. I've looked into it. We're all good. And also, obviously, as the title states, I'll be going into every avenue relating to the question, I'm 28 and single. Is it my fault? So, let's begin. Alright, got a good one here, because apparently the rest of my content isn't any good according to the algorithm. So, I'm 28 years old, and I'm single. I'm not talking to anyone, no hookups, no nothing. So what's the dealio here? We're going to go over a lot in today's video. We'll talk about my peers/acquaintances and the standard relationship path they've all followed. I've gone through my 20s with most of these people. At least, I've known them my entire 20s. And the contrast between the trajectories of our lives is pretty interesting. Once I'm done yapping about that, I'll go into a topic I've heard online before. It's something along the lines of, if a man was truly a great catch, he wouldn't be single in his 30s. Or something like that. I'm sure you know what I mean. It's a comment usually made from the cat ladies. In their defense, it's often a retaliation after a male has said older women are less valuable or something like that. I'll give my thoughts on that opinion in a future video. Actually, I kind of mentioned it a bit in this video, but I don't fully elaborate on it because it'll be its own separate video. Since if I go into everything, we'll be here for hours. Now, I suppose this video could come under my Is Dating Worth It series, so consider this the first or second video in this series. Probably second. I'd like to think my other video was the first in this series, but anyway, apparently I, a 28-year-old male, am a bad catch due to being single in my 30s. Well, I'm 28, so not quite 30s, but it's old enough to be lumped into this category. Hence the video title, Is It My Fault? Am I a bad catch? Is there something abysmally wrong that I'm doing? Or is it maybe there's more to it? I also have two friends in mind that are also single at this age. I went to university with these guys. I'll talk about them too. Then lastly, I'll talk about the dating market as a whole. I won't talk about everything, since that'll be for another video in this series, but there are some points that are relevant to the topic of this video, and it'll feed off the second talking point. For example, if I list the reasons why I'm a good catch, then why haven't I taken advantage of that fact if the dating market is filled with high-quality candidates? Or, if I'm a bad catch and the dating market is also filled with bad catches, then why don't I go for my looks match / someone with an equal SMV to me? SMV is sexual market value for anyone who doesn't know. To my knowledge, it's basically your worth in the dating market. Example, a stock has a certain value in the stock market based on a variety of metrics like price to earnings. Or if you're a tech company in the past 2 years, your valuation is based on how often the CEO says AI in the earnings call.
Gilf Light CEO Kate Johnson had yet to take the mic on earnings day. All hope was now in her hands. And Kate said, "Let the boys be boys." In a retro move, the quick-thinking CEO said AI 93 times during their earnings call, highlighting how Lumen was a big AI fan. All of the noise about declining business didn't even matter. Kate said the magic word. The following morning on August 7th, Lumen shot up 30%.
Or you have a certain value in the labor market based on your education/experience/skill set. Example, my labor market rate is pretty decent since I'm a CPA, but it's not as high as someone who has a doctoral degree in medicine, but it's way higher than someone who has no education/experience. I can demand salaries of $120,000 to $140,000 in this labor market, but I can't demand $300,000. A doctor can. And someone with no education/experience can't demand $120,000 to $140,000 in the labor market like I can. So your SMV, sexual market value, is kind of like this. A good SMV example would be a male who is tall, fit and attractive, such as Alexis Icarus, or a female who is young, fit and feminine, such as, I guess Brett Cooper. There are definitely some other examples, but I didn't want to put some Instagram thought here. But an instance like her has a high SMV. Us men don't like obnoxious loudmouth boss bitches. So yeah, chicks like this, high SMV. ChatGPT has more examples here. Obviously what I listed isn't the be-all end-all. Dudes with money and chicks with big tits, for example, have a higher boost. At least, I think so. In my region/women I personally know, they don't really seem to care much about your money or your physique. Like I know for a fact I net worth mog their boyfriends as well as physically mogging them. So why aren't I getting attention from them/their friends if my SMV is way higher? And I've seen a lot of dudes say they don't like big tits. What are you guys on about? How do you not like the milkers? Whatever. More big titty mummies for me. So basically, SMV is how appealing you are in the dating market. That's a brief way to describe it. So my last point will mention SMV and my perspective on the dating market. Again, I won't go over everything, but I will mention a lot since it's relevant to the topic of this video. So here we go. Let's start with talking point number 1. My peers/acquaintances and how the trajectory of dating has seemed to go for most people in their 20s. So, I'm a single male at 28. I already said that. But most of my male friends/acquaintances around this age are not single. So, what roughly happened since finishing high school versus almost being 30? One of my friends met his girlfriend at the end of high school. The 2 high schools they went to did some joint trip to some other country for some reason. I literally don't care what it was. The point is, they met on that trip. And they have been together ever since. They have their own house together. They both aren't into the marriage and kids thing. They're just living their best lives. Neither of them are on high income, so they're literally just chilling. No extravagant holidays, but since there's 2 incomes and they bought a house relatively early, they're not struggling at the moment. Literally just living their best life. So they met when they were young. They didn't get sick of each other's shit, / neither of them was a hoe and decided to cheat, so they're still together. 2 of my mates from university were quite the man-hoes back in the day, always on Tinder, chatting and meeting with chicks. I was also on Tinder a lot, but it was more so fishing to see what attention I could get with my newfound body. If you've seen my body transformation video, I basically barely made any progress in my first 3 years of training, and then I did an ultimate shred when I was 20 to 21. I never had abs like that in my life. Posted on my personal socials, got a good amount of attention, so I tested the waters on the dating apps, and yep, got attention. I didn't meet up with chicks unlike them though, because I was busy. My gym routine was pretty strict, obviously. You don't get a body like that being lax. And I also had uni, which I took seriously, because if you've seen my life story type videos, you'll know my career was on life support in 2018. So there was 0 chance I was ditching any study time for the sake of a date or something. Then I also had a lot of shifts at the supermarket, because life is like a sandwich. No matter which way you flip it, the bread comes first. So, had lots of shifts. I was also studying my Cert 4 in fitness alongside my accounting degree for a bit, and I was also playing basketball. At some point I had another job and an internship, but the point is, I was busy, and whenever I did socialize, I went to hang out with my friends from my wagey job / my uni friends, as opposed to hanging out with some random chick from Tinder. So, to my point, those manho friends were manhoing around, and I don't know if they decided to settle down at some point, or they just happened to find a chick they really meshed well with and stayed with them ever since. Both are now engaged to their partners. Now, interesting side point, both of their partners are less attractive than quite a few of their prior sexual partners, in my opinion anyway. Either they think otherwise, they care more about personality, took them long enough to come to that conclusion, 20 plus bodies later, they were getting older so it was go time to settle down, or since they knew they were a manho, they weren't going to have many other options from here on out, since, women aren't really a fan of the fuckboys. Although I generally disagree with that point. Women say they care about a male's body count, but I haven't seen that personally. If anything, they tend to reward that behavior. The guys who don't hoe around, like me, get punished for it in the dating market. But that'll be yet another video in this Is Dating Worth It series. Can you tell this video series is going to have a ton of videos? So, point is, they followed the path of a traditional basic bitch. Hoe around early on, then settle down later. I'm sure they're not the only ones. I can just name those two off my head. Actually, this also happened with another friend I had in high school now that I think about it. He's also engaged to his fiancée, who is less attractive, in my opinion, than many of the other girls he hooked up with. And he was also a manho back in the day. I called him Quagmire to our other friend, because he's skinny and a manho. I guess a lot of guys can be called Quagmire too, hey. So one of my friends found a girl when he was 18, and he was with her ever since. Others hoed around for a bit before finding someone. Another one of my friends was manhoing still at the age of 27 to 28. Well, he didn't really manho in his early 20s because he couldn't really get anything, to be honest. He hasn't done it in a while, like several months, not like years. I can't remember if he told me it's because he hadn't been bothered or hasn't gotten any matches. Honestly, it's probably a combo of both. If you're wondering if his options or lady friends recently were of decent quality, the answer is obviously not. He'd show me them. I didn't think they were that good at all. He did, but his standards are kind of low or different. Like this friend of mine, he does have a good face in my opinion. He's like part Italian, maybe full Italian, I don't know, but he's just fat. Decently heavy bloke. He also loves his Asian and South American bitches, which made up like 95% of the women he'd talk to. So his standards are different to mine. A lot of the chicks he'd match with recently migrated here, / were here on a holiday or something. So his standards were skewed towards the Asians and Latinas. So his standards are skewed differently to mine. Me, for example, because I'm part Southeast Asian, that means I prefer white chicks. There are some conventionally mid-white chicks that I find attractive. That's just the way it goes. For anyone who cares enough, my dad's side of the family is Australian, British, and Dutch. My mum's side is Filipino, Chinese, and Spanish. I've always just said I'm half Filo, half Aussie for the sake of simplicity before, but that's not entirely true. It'd be like if I had kids with a chick who was fully Sudanese, or fully Nigerian, and you said that kid was half Sudanese, half Aussie. Well, no, that's not correct since I'm not full Aussie. Or if you said the kid was half Nigerian, half Filo. Well, no, that's also not correct since I'm not full Filo. So the point of that is to say, my personal preference skews towards the snow bunnies, which probably has something to do with me being part ethnic. That is yet another video in this series, something like how the black pill impacts dating. It's like how white guys usually love Asian chicks or Latina chicks, the same way Asian / Indian dudes love white chicks. Whether you want to admit it or not, it matters. Now, obviously, I also dig the Asians and Latinas and black chicks too, but I have a bias towards the snow bunnies. They call me the Arctic fox, the way I hunt these snow bunnies. Actually, no one calls me that ever. So back on track, my mate was still manhoing around with mid-foreign chicks even around at this age. They were also always a bit older, like mid-30s, which is interesting. I guess when you're a female at that age, there aren't many men who want you, since men generally prefer younger women, which is yet another video set for this series. And how do I know this? How do I know men prefer younger women? Well, data and anecdotes, but also me personally. I like younger chicks. My preference is for fit chicks regardless of age, but generally, the more attractive girls are younger. Maybe, just maybe, if they kept taking care of themselves and stopped getting fat after the age of 23, then maybe they'd have better luck in the dating market. But that'll be yet another video in this series. Although the gym MILFs get a lot of attention in the gym meme space, I do like gym MILFs too. What can I say? Obviously no statements made from me are black and white. They're more so grey areas, but there is a clear pattern. Men like younger chicks, chicks like older men, Asian and Indian dudes like white chicks, white dudes love Asian and Latina chicks. Shit like that, generally speaking, is true. When an animal recognizes a pattern, everyone calls it smart. When I recognize a pattern, everyone copes and says it's not true. Oh, but I had a different experience. Yeah, like I said, there's a pattern, but it's not black and white. Now, this manho in his mid to late 20s did have a relationship a little while back. They met through the same method as the others, hoeing around and then you find someone you jive with. But they're not together anymore. He got sick of her shit after a while. She was Colombian, so I don't know if any of my Freedom Unit friends can attest to this or not, but I hear the Colombians are crazy women. I ask you guys since I imagine you'd have more Colombian exposure than we do here in Australia, you know, considering the geography of the three countries. So anyway, they didn't work out. Also, he got sick of the commute to see her each weekend, because obviously, as a couple, she wanted to see him constantly. And my friend, well, he's lazy. Obviously he's lazy or he wouldn't be fat. And he couldn't be arsed travelling up to Melbourne every weekend to see her. Like where we live, it's more than an hour train trip to Melbourne. She lives in Melbourne. He doesn't. So he wanted some weekends to himself. She wanted all weekends with him. So that didn't mesh well. Maybe if they lived in the same city, then maybe he could just see her for a few hours each day and then have his alone time. But when you got to commute that far, you may as well stay up the night. And while you're there, you may as well spend a good chunk of the next day with her too. So point is, he did properly date someone, but it didn't work out. Like him. Lol. And don't worry, he knows he's fat too. I'm not like bad-mouthing him behind his back, right? And I mean, it's kind of important context too. Like, oh, my friend kind of slays the poon on Tinder, but he's fat. Oh, how did he do it? Oh, well, it's because his quality was below average. So I could talk more on other friends I know, but it's usually a similar path. They met when they were teenagers and now they're still together. They hoed around and found someone eventually. Or there are instances of just more short-term relationships, like maybe 3 to 5 of them before finding someone they stuck with. So you didn't find someone early on, but you weren't exactly hoeing around either. There is another category though, dudes who just didn't date/hoe around at all. I and 2 of my other friends I'll talk about fall into this category, but I'll talk more on them later. So what's the common theme here? The theme is if you get out there or find someone you gel with early on, chances are you'll end up in a relationship. I did not do this. There were some good chicks I jived with in my early 20s, but they didn't work out for various reasons. One of them was a hot law student with big tits. She was my favourite of all the girls I was talking to at one stage. I organised a study day once, but she didn't show up. RIP. On Snapchat, she was having some issues with her phone provider, Optus, at the time, so not sure if she either forgot or she couldn't make it because she was dealing with that. She never said she couldn't make it. She never said, sorry, I can't make it or anything. So she stood me up on our study dates, but was still talking to me on Snapchat during the time we were meant to be meeting together for our study dates. Okay. So that was the first time we were officially going to meet, since we just chatted on Tinder/Snapchat that whole time. She actually double messaged me on Tinder early on. That's when I knew she was keen. I don't know, I was busy with some uni lecture that I was actually paying attention to, so I didn't reply for a bit, and her double text was like an add-on/an update to whatever story/event she was telling me about in the prior message. Like, she sent a message before my lecture, I didn't reply yet, and after the lecture I checked my phone, and yep, another message from her. Anyway, we never met up in person. The first time I did see her in person, though, was at a nightclub, and I tapped her on the shoulder and waved, and smiled, because it was too noisy to talk. But why didn't I go over and dance with her or anything? She was there with her female friend, there was no other dudes there, so why didn't I dance with her, prime opportunity? Well, it's because I was with another girl that night. I was out for my friend's 21st, and my wagey friend was out for some reason with her friends, and I met up with her for a bit, and one of her friends was a smoke show, like, wow. So I asked my wagey friend if she could hook me up with her friend. Like, smoke show girl went to get drinks, then my wagey friend goes back over to her because I asked her, hey, can you hook me up with her? And then my wagey friend comes back after talking to her, and she said, hell yeah. And I'm like, fuck yeah. So I was making out with that girl the whole night. So the first time that big tits law chick saw me was at a club when I was with some other girl. Whoops. Hey, it's not my fault. What is a boy to do? This smoke show chick was a hot as fuck South African girl with big tits and ass. As if you're gonna say no to that. Maybe, just maybe, if Law Girl didn't stand me up on our study date, I could have been with her that night instead. But whatever. The South African chick didn't want a relationship or anything. We just had each other's socials after that. We actually became friends later on through uni. That'll be a story for another time, if it's ever relevant to a video I make. But yeah, those two chicks would have made great partners. But clearly, they weren't that keen. Apparently keen enough to find me attractive and talk to me, aka my appearance and personality can't have been the issue. If my looks weren't good enough, law student chick wouldn't have swiped on Tinder, and South African wouldn't have made out with me all night at the nightclub. And if my personality sucked, lawyer wouldn't have chatted to me on Snapchat, and South African wouldn't have become my friend later on. So sometimes there is just something missing. What is it that's missing? I don't know, because if I did know, I'd be in a relationship with either of them. The law chick ended up in a relationship with some actual sub-5 dude later on. Like, I don't understand. In fact, that may have happened before I saw her at the club. I can't remember, and I don't care either. But she was obviously talking to this dude while she was talking to me, which is fair enough. I was also talking to other girls whilst talking to her. She got fat within a few months of dating him too, so her tits to waist ratio was ruined. So maybe I dodged a bullet there, but I guess if she went to the gym with me, because if we dated, then she'd obviously start gymming with me because that's her hobby, right? Then she wouldn't have gotten fat, but whatever, who cares? This other chick about a year later who I met through my gym was also great, but she cancelled one of our dates, the date I was going to ask her out on, and the way she worded her text to my response was she's done talking for the day. She said she can't hang out because she's tired after her first week of uni. I was obviously disappointed because I was looking forward to that all week. After the accounting job I had at the time, I was looking forward to our date at the end of the week. But I say, no worries, all good, something like that. And her next response was something like, have a good afternoon. What? There's still the evening and night left. Can't we talk later? What the fuck? Whatever. So I got petty and didn't reply and posted on socials the next day to make sure she knew I was on my phone, and I didn't talk to her until later the next day to keep the Snapchat streak going. And she was mad. I ignored her all day, obviously, and that basically killed it right then and there. Shortly after, we had COVID lockdown, so we couldn't have met anyway. Funny, because we ended up talking again months and years later. So my pettiness probably killed that off, but why didn't she want to keep talking? Whatever, both parties are to blame. She ended up moving away for uni, so I guess it was a good thing it didn't work out, because I would have been crushed when she left me. You know what? Who cares? So there were probably a few other examples, but the point I'm making here is, yes, I've had these types of pre-dating interactions with girls before. No sleeping around, just the old school style of talking, maybe kissing, and chatting on socials, but no actual girlfriend eventuated. Perhaps something could have happened if I kept going. Surely you'd find someone you're more compatible with. Maybe it's a numbers game. The more girls you get closer with, the more likely something will happen. So during COVID, I went back to uni. I was still on Tinder around this time, but I couldn't really be bothered talking much since I was locked in on my new graduate certificate that I enrolled in. Like, I'm not even kidding, by Thursday of week 1, I already had a 2,500-page assignment done. My unit chair actually had to call my phone personally to let me know that I actually misinterpreted the assignment topics/questions. Since, this assignment is due week 4, meaning you'd have 3 weeks of material involved in it, and here I am already done with it in week 1. I had to redo the entire thing. I was so mad. She did give me the option to leave it, but said I wouldn't get a good mark for it. So I chose to redo it. Super annoying, but my end grade made it worth it. And I was also working during the supermarket during the pandemic hours. As you can imagine, it was quite hectic. And then I was also going ham on my night sessions in my home gym. So basically, I was locked in on those 3 areas of my game of life. I remember chatting to this chick during lockdowns. She was pretty cool, had a lot in common, but I remember being sick of replying to her messages because they were so long. But that's a good thing, right? You jive with her. Yes, you're correct. But I was so locked in around this time that any time away from study, work, or gym was an inefficient use of my time. So that died out. This other chick I was also talking to died out as well. She was like really horny once. Sending nudes, it was great. But it was an annoying distraction from my assignment. Like, I stopped replying to her so I could lock in at one stage on my uni assignment, and then after a couple of hours, I checked my Snapchat again to see these videos of her shoving a water bottle inside her pussy, rubbing herself with a TV remote too, I think. Some other horny shit. I reply, "Hey, sorry, I was busy. What's up?" And then her response, she's in her bed with her hoodie on, watching some show on her laptop or something. So the point of that is to say, I can't really get anywhere with a girl if I'm just going to leave her undelivered when she's sending that kind of stuff. So basically, no girls during lockdowns, because my state wasn't the only thing that was locked down. It was me, in case you didn't get it. I was locked down, on my grind. Then 2021 comes around. I start my new job, the one I'm still at. I keep my wagey job on the weekends. I keep my gym routine. My CPA studies begin. I also start my stock market investing and YouTube channel journey around this time too, and the rest is history. So needless to say, if I didn't have time for a girl / didn't prioritize a girl during my 2020 grind, what makes you think I'd prioritize a girl during my 2021 and beyond grind? Keep all this in mind for later in this video too, since it'll play into the whole "are single men in their later years bad catches" thing. So wrapping up that point, in most cases, those who got girlfriends in their 20s, or before that, were out meeting a lot of women. Now, next point, are single men in their later years bad catches? I thought I had more to say on the prior topic, but I guess we're already on the new topic. Are single men in their later years bad catches? So you heard me before mention my grind. I didn't prioritize women in 2020. I didn't also prioritize them in 2018 or 19 either, as I mentioned before. I was always at gym / work / studying / basketball. And whenever I did hang with people, it was always my existing friend group. So that was when I was in my early 20s. So no one says if he was a good catch, he wouldn't be single in his early 20s. In my early 20s, I was on that grind, working hard to make a better life for myself. So what's changed? The only thing really is that my grind is now more intense and I have much more rewards to show for it. Oh, and I'm older. So now that I'm older, apparently I am now a bad catch, since guys in their late 20s / early 30s who are single can't be good catches, because if they were, they'd already be in a relationship, right? So this ties into the video title, Is It My Fault? In the earlier instances, Law Girl, South African Girl, and the girl from my gym, there was some blame attributed to me. Law Girl seeing me make out with South African Girl is obviously not a good look, but I think we were already drifting apart by then anyway. South African Girl actually went back to South Africa for 2 months within a week of our clubbing night, and then came back to uni 2 months later. She wasn't really a hoe, but she did like attention from other guys. What can I say? I also like attention from other women. In this case, there wasn't really much else I could have done. She just wasn't feeling it. With Gym Girl, yeah, I could have done better, like not be a petty bitch. And yeah, there were other women I talked to over the years, but those are like 3 of the most noteworthy situations. So what was my other option? Just to continuously meet new girls and then eventually the stars align? Well, your boy has been busy on that grind for several years improving himself. And yet, because my improvement phase has resulted in me being single at 28, that makes me a bad catch, allegedly. I suppose the women would prefer it if I'd slept with 20 plus girls instead. That would make me a better catch, since, statistically speaking, I'd have a girlfriend by then. So, am I a bad catch? Now hear me out on this one. Since I've been on the grind for the past several years, putting women very low on the totem pole of priorities, and by default meaning they're not even a priority at all, that has resulted in the following. Before you are watching/listening to a YouTube video from a YouTube channel that is run by a guy. This guy is a CPA, which is an advanced accounting qualification. Think of it as completing your master's in a way. And obviously this also means he's an accountant, which is a good career path. It's stable. Not as stable as nursing or teaching, but it's still very up there in terms of stability. This career path also pays well. Not as well as engineering or tech, but it pays well enough. The accounting industry often holds a large number of millionaires and landlords. So it doesn't pay as well as tech, but you're way more likely to get employed/stay employed in accounting. It's not as stable as nursing or teaching, but in most cases, the accounting career pays more than those industries. There are plenty of good careers out there, such as pretty much every trade and white-collar careers that require a useful degree, aka not gender studies/history/arts. I have a video on how to pick a good career if anyone wants this information, but accounting is certainly a good career. So, this guy you're listening to has the highest qualification in the accounting industry, and he has also had other add-ons to his career, like Microsoft Excel training and professional leadership training, as well as years of experience in the finance manager to financial controller to CFO career path, which basically means this guy is financially stable. This guy also works a second job. That's not really important, but the second job has helped him amass a net worth of more than $272,000 at the time of this script. This job also bumps his total compensation up to $127,000 between the 2 jobs. So he isn't the richest person in the world, but he's certainly not struggling financially. He is also in the process of getting a house built. This house is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage, 2 lounge, 1 outdoor living home too. So this house is by no means a small house. It's not a mansion by any means, but it's certainly spacious enough. And it has room for future kids, if that's what you were thinking about. However, this guy's intention is to use this house as an asset to extract rental income from. Based on rough market figures currently, $250 per room is a reasonable estimate. Chances are it'll be $270 or more by the time this home is built. So once this home is built, there'll be $810 in rental income coming in per week for this guy. $270 per room times 3 bedrooms. That's an additional $42,120 per year. Even if this guy has 0 pay raises for the next 2 to 3 years, which is unlikely since he's a CPA, tacking this onto his current salary, that means his total income from his jobs and real estate investment will be around $169,000, nice, $120. Should have been $420, Blaziken it. So, needless to say, this guy has some great income potential in the future, not only due to his CPA qualification, but also due to his real estate investment. Did we forget to mention, this house is in a middle-class suburban-type neighborhood. It's 5 minutes from nearby shopping plazas, don't have to travel far for the essentials, 3 minutes from the kinder to year 12 school, aka you can enroll your kid in a school in prep and then ride the wave up all the way to the end of high school. All the while only being a 3-minute drive from home. The house is also 10 minutes from nearby beaches and 15 minutes from the nearby city. So, good location, yeah? Not only is this good for quality of life, but it's also good for capital growth in the property, meaning there's essentially extra money to buy an investment property and beyond. Oh, did we mention, this is in Australia too. Yeah, I'm aware the housing market is fucked all over the globe, but especially so here in the land down under.
Now, if you are Canadian and these videos got you feeling a bit depressed, Just remember, it could be worse. You could be Australia.
But in Australia, it's more extreme. In 1987, a house in Australia cost 2.8 times the annual income, similar to other countries. By 2019, this was up to 6.9 times, outpacing the US, Canada, and the UK. But in 2023, it went up to 9.7 times the annual income, the highest in the world after Hong Kong.
Thanks, government. Especially Canada, but especially Australia, but especially the United States, but especially the United Kingdom, but especially Europe, but especially Asia, but especially South America, but especially Africa. So who cares where you're from? A house in your location is a house in your location, right? Well, being in Australia means there are even less people my age, or any age in general, who have their own place, let alone it being a decent-sized house in a nice area. But irrespective of the location, the point is, this guy has a nice place, in a nice area that can generate some nice wealth. So he's well underway for a decent-sized house that can bring in at least an extra $42,000 per year, is primed for higher growth, and provides a great location for quality of life purposes. You could make the extra $42,000 per year for 6 to 7 years, pay off your mortgage, then move the tenants out and have a family in that paid off house. I'll talk later in this video about why I most likely would not do this, but I do have that option. That's a path in life I can provide to a woman that most 28-year-olds can't. You can't have that option if you rent your place. You can't have that option if you own a 2-bedroom apartment/condo. You can't do that if the house you own is far away from everything. This guy, as a result of his grind, is also able to understand the stock market quite well. He's reallocated his retirement fund to be invested in the best assets on the market rather than sticking to what the so-called experts have suggested, such as having 11% of your retirement fund invested in cash. At this young of an age, bad idea. Not the point of this video, but basically, he'll have a lot more money available to him in the future from this simple change, let alone other changes. This ability to understand the market also allows him another income stream. He's able to make quick swing trades when good opportunities present themselves in the market, let alone what he's able to do with those skills in the future as he gets better and better at trading. Also, considering he's a savvy investor, there are longer-term stock picks that he's able to make that beat out the market averages. This means, through his own knowledge, he can provide a greater return on his money than the standard market rate, without having to pay a professional investor for this type of information, aka more money, meaning less financial stress and more freedom as he's able to buy back time in the future. You know, go on more holidays together, not have to worry about unexpected expenses that come up, both for kids and for your own personal life. Alongside this dude also has his own little business up and running, a monetized YouTube channel. Yeah, it's a money burner right now, still a long way from even breaking even, but the business has some nice trajectory and can provide yet another income stream in the future if need be, let alone if it gets big enough, there being sponsors and products that can also stem from this business. So this dude has a stable career, advanced education to back up that stable career, makes good income, has some wealth behind him, isn't too far off having his own place, understands the stock markets, not many people can do that, and has his own brand. Does this fit the definition of high-value male? Well, this guy is also conventionally fit. No dad bods or skinny boys here, even though women seem to like those types of bodies. But the point is, this guy's also fit on top of everything else previously listed. Okay, so I'm sure that 100% of people watching have figured out that this guy I'm talking about is me, especially since I mentioned it before I went on that little tangent of my accomplishments. So I basically just went over a sales pitch of myself. Not counting things like, I'm a chill guy, I'm caring, I listen, I'm easy to get along with, yada yada. The stuff you'd hear on those sort of date at first sight types of TV shows, or stuff you'd put in your dating bio. I like true crime and sunsets. I didn't talk about any stuff like that. Since honestly, when has that ever worked? Like imagine you're a chick and you swipe on a dating app, you come across a dude's profile, and she's like, he's okay looking. But oh, what's this? He enjoys sunsets and walks on the beach. Oh my god, yes, swipe. I don't think that's ever worked. Whenever I saw stuff like that on women's dating bios, it came across as rather basic. And she also wasn't the only one either. And also, stuff like that was less important to me. I cared much more about what a girl was studying and what her body looked like, as opposed to what hobbies she enjoys. If I had a girl and she liked watching a Netflix series or something, that's fine, she can enjoy that herself. But stuff like that has never really been a make or break thing for me. Like most girls like reading books before bed, that doesn't make a girl any more or less desirable or attractive to me. That's just what she does. So that's why I didn't list general stuff like that. Also, if you say, I'm kind or something, well, no shit, aren't most people? Like, that's not a big sales pitch in my opinion. That's something that should be scouted when you talk to someone, not something you lead with. Not sure if I'm articulating myself properly, but I'm sure you know what I mean. It's like when you make a resume. Some people list a skills section, like attention to detail, proficient at Excel, hard worker, stuff like that. Well, you're not supposed to list those. You're supposed to showcase them via other achievements in your resume. I made a video on resumes already, but I'll make an updated one soon enough. Point for this video is, saying, I'm kind or I'm nice is not a good sales pitch in my opinion. It's too generic. It should pretty much be expected. And you're meant to showcase this on a first date. How do you get a first date in the first place? By being attractive enough. Now, with that said, if I was actually making a sales pitch for myself, I don't know if I'd mention the real estate or net worth or anything like that. Like, you don't want to lead with the wallet because you draw in the gold diggers, and in my country there aren't many requirements for you to legally be married under the eyes of the law. So she can put on a facade for a few years, she moves in with me, and boom, now she has legal ownership of my assets. She can cry to the family courts, and then they'll take my house from me. That she contributed $0 to, by the way, #equality. But with that said, you also want to showcase some of your strengths. It'd be like if some chick hid her body well and hid her demure nature. Like, if you knew a chick had big tits, small waist, and a big ass and was demure, that alone has drastically raised her SMV. But if she hides this stuff because she doesn't want to attract men who'd only use her for her body, then she's not going to get the best available dudes that she can get. Kind of the same dilemma here if you're a dude with money. If you hide your strengths, you can lose out on a better partner. But if you show all your cards at once, you can attract the wrong type of partner. So there's pros and cons to both sides. I suppose for me personally, I'd say I'm an accountant who has his own place. Maybe I'd mention CPA, but in terms of the house, I'd just say that I have my own place. It leaves it up to interpretation if I own it via a mortgage, aka the bank owns it, or I just rent it. They could always ask, obviously, but in terms of like writing that on a dating bio, I'd probably just say, I have my own place. Okay, so my sales pitch was basically, I'm financially stable, have ambition, and I'm fit. 3 traits you would assume women desire in a man. Well, I also desire this in a female. I don't want a chick who has a very inconsistent income stream, aka she has some casual job at some place or some shitty business she enjoys but doesn't bring enough money to survive off of. I don't want a girl who is lazy, so not ambitious, and I don't want someone who is physically unappealing. But anyway, we're talking about me here, since the video title is I'm single at 28, not other chicks being single at 28. Now it's time to address the elephant in the room. I ain't no bum. And based on what many women say, they would dig this, right? So if I'm single, despite having all of these positive traits, then perhaps there are some other rather undesirable traits about me that simply can't be ignored. Right? Am I ugly? Am I vertically challenged? Many say face and height are the most important traits. So am I severely lacking in these areas? Well, I mentioned stuff like that in the last video in this series, but I'll briefly brush through it here. I am taller than the average woman by a fair bit. Yes, I'd have some rejections based on this factor from some women, 'cause they might want to wear heels. Oh my god, heaven forbid you be taller than him in heels. Acting like there aren't sole lifts for men's shoes, or acting like that should determine an entire relationship. Imagine totally disqualifying a guy because your eye level might be above his in the very hyper-specific scenarios in which you'd wear heels to some event. 168 hours per week, and maybe 5 of those you're at some fancy event one week. And that isn't even every week either. Like, imagine totally disqualifying a dude based on that shit alone. So my point is, I am not some towering giant, but I am also not a short king. I also have a decent face card, really depends on your standards, since I think globally the standards tend to be lower than they are here in Australia. It's not some cakewalk for me to get attention from women, but it's not like I have to move heaven and earth for female attention either. So given these traits, I am not some giga chad that the women flock to, but I'm also not invisible to women. So you'd think there'd be a lot of attention when you consider everything else I listed before in terms of financial stability and whatnot. This circles back to the second main talking point of this video. If he was a good catch, he wouldn't be single at this age. Well, am I a bad catch? 6 foot, 6 figures, 6 abs, but nope, bad catch. Single older men are bad catches. As you can imagine, I strongly disagree with this statement. I get the sentiment. Many single dudes in their later years are often the Discord mod / Reddit neckbeard types, so they're bad catches. But have these women considered the fact that maybe, just maybe, some dudes lock in to improve themselves in their 20s? So this leads on to the third talking point of this video. The state of the dating market. If I'm such a good catch, why haven't I taken advantage of this in the dating market? Well, it can be answered with what I mentioned in point 1 of this video. I've been locked in. How can I take advantage of something that I'm not even paying attention to? But let's talk about this in a bit more depth. Yes, I've been locked in, but if the dating market was flooded with good catches, why not take a shot at it? I'm on a 2018 LeBron run, but despite LeBron's brilliance in 2018, a high-caliber teammate would have made the ride easier for him. So why haven't I found my 2013 Dwayne Wade or my 2016 Kyrie Irving? Yes, you have work to do on yourself, but if the women are so great, surely they're worth splitting / dividing your attention away from the grind for a bit, yeah? Well, as you might have already assumed, I really don't see many good options in the dating market. So, as a 28-year-old, you basically have 3 categories of women available to you. Girls younger than you, girls around your age, and girls older than you. Well, no shit. Doesn't this apply to everyone? Well, kinda, but not really. When you're 15, you probably aren't going for 10-year-olds, and you're also probably not going for 25-year-olds, although that has most likely happened before. So when you're 15, you generally are going for a partner around your age, which makes sense. All the people I know who are dating someone their age met them when they were in their teenage years. For most others who met after high school / university, there's usually a bigger age gap, even if it's only 2 to 3 years. But those who are 0 to 1 years apart, usually they met in high school. So as a 28-year-old, I have the younger and older options available to me. I'm not limited to my age range, even though you aren't really limited when you're a teenager since 1, being at school opens the door to a lot of people. Yeah, you're only really going for the same age range, but since there's a lot of people your age, this age lock doesn't really matter. And 2, most of the people are single. Try that at this age. Most people are in relationships. But look back at high school. I remember when I was 14 to 15 years old, I knew literally every guy in my school who had a girlfriend. Every guy in my high school who did have a girlfriend, I knew them. Like, what I'm saying is there was a lot of single guys around that age at my high school. By the time we reached 17 to 18 years old, there were a lot more people who had girlfriends. I went to an all-boys school, by the way, so many boys in our year level, in our last year of high school, had girlfriends. But it wasn't uncommon to see someone who was single. Nowadays, most people this age have partners. Every chick who's done laser hair removal on me before has mentioned their boyfriends, even if they were a little bit younger, like late teens / early 20s by this time. My Botox nurses have partners. My dentist has a partner, sadly. My tax accountant also has a partner. also, sadly. They're all chicks too, so it makes it even more... Well, obviously they're all chicks. They're all chicks too, so it makes it even more annoying because some of them would be viable dating options because, good jobs. And they're hot, like the tax accountant and the dentist. But nope, they're taken. Sad reacts in the chat. But isn't that interesting? A lot of people I run into these days, even my tax accountant, dentist, Botox nurses, laser hair therapists, they all have partners. So what's the point here? The point is the dating pool / options are shrinking, and all of these women are around my age. Maybe there's like 3 to 4 years between us in some cases, both older and younger, but this fits under the around my age category. So for the women who are around my age, basically none of them are available. So that option is pretty dead for me. There are some single women around this age. I know it because I follow them on Instagram. We'd know of each other from back in the day for whatever reason, and over the years, I've just seen them get fatter and more bitter. They'd never share Instagram posts taking digs at men when they were in their late teens / early 20s, but they're doing it now in their late 20s. The classic evolution of the basic bitch into the cat lady. Like, yeah, I take digs at women on this channel from time to time too, but I also take digs at men, #equality, but I'd never do it on my personal Instagram story. Unlike them, I didn't get fat, and also unlike them, I'm not totally bitter at the opposite gender to the point where I slander them via memes on my personal Instagram story. I'm not bitter to women as a whole, but there are a lot of dumb shit they do, which is why I have zero qualms with making fun of them when warranted. These women also don't have decent jobs. Like, they'd work part-time at a wagey job. Some dudes are okay with this. Like, oh, I don't mind if my girlfriend doesn't bring home the bacon, her role is to stay at home or whatever. I am not one of them. You're going to need your own income stability if you want to be with me. I'll talk more on this topic in another video, but the less your partner earns, the more they get from you in the event of a relationship breakdown when assets are divided. So you hedge that bet if she earns more. Yes, she can always just quit her well-paying job, and then you get wrecked anyway, but if she has a minimum wage casual gig, then you're definitely getting wrecked in the family courts. If she's got her own solid income, this is way less likely since chances are she'd want to keep that level of income coming. But to the point of this specific video, women with no money are a bad catch. It's different if you grew together over the years and now she has another role in your life, such as taking care of your kids. But I didn't grow up with any women, so my prospective partner needs her own income. So anyway, these women around my age who are single are usually bitter, fat, ran through, and have no money. There's a recent sort of video series, I guess, on YouTube here in Australia called Pop the Balloon or Find Love, or something like that. I've only briefly sourced some of it. But these women on these shows are around my age, and they have nothing valuable to offer, and they expect so much. These are the types of women that are available at this age. So the point is, if I go for women around my age, they're either taken or very bad quality. And as mentioned before, I am not a bad quality partner. Oh, so arrogant. Bro is a narcissist. No wonder he's single. Well, what am I supposed to say? If I said, oh, I'm a terrible partner, I'm such a pathetic loser, well, how would most people feel hearing that? I make more than $100,000 a year. My body is well above average. I have great education. My net worth is higher than $250,000, let alone the stocks, YouTube, real estate shit. If your income / net worth / physique is under these levels, which is a lot of people, and then you hear some guy who's ahead of you in life bad-mouthing his accomplishments, then by extension, you'd feel much worse about yourself. It's like back in the day when I was watching so much gym stuff, I'd see some gym cell talking about someone else's physique that was drastically better than mine at the time, and that gym cell would say, oh, that physique is shit. And then that made me feel horrible about myself since that guy they badmouthed was so much better than I was at that point in time. Some good examples I have to show are from a natural hypertrophy video where he mentioned how his back wasn't that great, and some comment is like, oh, I thought that was a good back. And the very first ever instance I've ever had of this case was when Chris Jones was talking about Boston Lloyd's steroid transformation in 2014, or maybe it was a bit earlier than that.
Now, as you see, this guy is not impressive at all, but you can still tell he lifts. He has a nice wide back. He's pretty thick.
And this was before I made any decent gains at all. So when I heard him say, oh, the physique's not that impressive, I was like, what the fuck is this cunt on about? That physique is great. He has huge muscles. I have barely any. So this is what I mean when I talk about me being great. On what country is a six-figure income and a six-figure net worth not great? This would fall under the category of a guy who has his shit together, which from what I heard is something women like/desire, hence I am a good catch. So being a good catch myself, I'm not settling for a terrible catch, since I'm not desperate. You can't be a fit guy with his own place soon enough, with a six-figure income and a six-figure net worth, who's above average in his aesthetic appearance, ending up with some fat, bitter, broke, ran-through lady. Heaven forbid she's also carrying someone else's kid. So that basically eliminates girls around my age from the dating pool. So I'm left with two options, older or younger. We'll start with older. Well, if they're bad catches at 28, what good would they be at 35 plus? Recall earlier in the video of my mate around my age who is a manho, and he would only really go for the low-quality older women. If they ran through at 28, they probably really ran through at 35 plus, because the way my mate would set up these hookups was wild. It happened so fast, and then it's almost like it never happened at all. And as mentioned, yeah, he's got an okay/decent face, but he's fat, and he doesn't hide it in his pics either, unlike how women, on Tinder, they'll take selfies from the chin up. He has pics of him at some event where you can see his whole body in frame. If they're willing to set up an easy route with him, who knows what else they'd go for. This also isn't to mention the abundance of single mums at this age too. Most red pill grifters will slander the single mums. Look, I do too. I don't want to raise someone else's kid. My kids are going to need my own genetics. No doubt I've made someone mad with that comment, and I also probably triggered some people with my ran through comments. I'll elaborate in another video, but there are some very good reasons I have for not going for women who are ran through and single mums. My mate and I were debating the whole body count thing in a partner a while ago, since he was talking to a girl who had a pretty promiscuous past, and I was like, dude, no good, don't go there. And he was defending it, saying he doesn't really care, that it's in the past, yada yada. Well, surprise, surprise, that thing failed now. I told him old habits die hard. And yep, those old habits did indeed die hard. She did some hoe shit that gave him the ick. Oh my god, it gives me the ick. So he's turned off of her now. But again, I will list my reasons in a future video, but for now, ran through or single mum, bad catch. Funny cause she's 28, like the girl that my friend was talking to, and what a surprise! An available woman around my age is a bad catch. She's literally a nut job, like she has medication, like all this medication she takes for whatever mental fuck up she has. Excessive tats, high body count, no real decent job. Kinda chubby, but it's like the type of chubby that you know is going to be really fat in the future. Wow, I'm so surprised an available woman at 28 is a bad catch. However, at an older age like 35, what you can get is someone who's come out of a long-term relationship. So someone who's only been with one partner for several years, and for one reason or another, it didn't work out after a while. So you can get those women available. Whereas usually at 28, people who are decent tend to be in long-term relationships. So when you go up an age bracket, when you go older, funnily enough, you're more likely to find a girl who has a lower body count and a nice career, as opposed to women at your current age, because all of those good women are currently taken at 28, but they're more likely to be single at 35 than 28 is what I'm trying to say. Yes, the options are still limited at around 35 years old, but they're not as limited in my opinion. Now this brings up another question, children/family. Whether cat ladies are willing to admit it or not, your biological clock as a woman is ticking at this age. You don't have many years of fertility left. So for men who want family/children, This is a turn-off for them. They're forced to go younger. Oh my god, but so-and-so had a kid at 40, blah 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 blah. Yeah, and what about most other people you know? Most mothers I know had kids in their 20s or early 30s. There are health complications that are more likely to arise when you try for kids when you're older. Not going to mention it in this video because it'll be long enough already, but the research on this topic is out there for you to go and look at yourself. So this also leads on to the topic, do you want kids? If you don't want kids, then the older women would be a potential pick, since their primary drawback for most men, the inability to bear children, isn't a concern for you. But do you even want kids in the first place? That'll be another topic for another video. But I am 50-50 on this. If you don't have kids, what are you going to be doing when you're older? If you do have kids, that can really hinder the other things you want in life when you're younger. Also, the family court and a gold digger will weaponize the children. If kids are involved in a split up, you bet that more of your assets/income will be fleeced from you in the event of a relationship breakdown. If there are no kids involved, you'll still probably get fucked by the family courts, just not as badly. But that will be its own video. This also brings up this topic. The other issue with women who are around my age or older is they want to rush things. I already knew this ages ago, but it became more clear at a recent family reunion. One of my cousins, a 31-year-old female, is trying to find a partner. She mentioned how at her work someone was like, I can set you up with some guys. They have wives, well, soon-to-be wives. It's not working out. So that'll be yet another video on this topic. Like you see everyone getting married around this age, but how many of them last? So like this business partner / co-worker / client / someone business related to the company she works for happens to know a lot of guys who are about to split from their wives. Interesting. A lot of people he knew didn't have a happy marriage. It wasn't just an outlier case. It was more so common than not. So anyway, that wasn't my point. I was mentioning how my cousin was looking for a partner. So at one point in the conversation, my cousins were talking about who's going to show up engaged / married next year. And my 31-year-old cousin goes, could be me. And my other cousin goes, what, married within a year? And she goes, yeah, maybe. At this age, people might want to, points to her ring finger, get a move on with things. Now, like I said, I already knew this was a thing, but that just further solidified it. So for anyone who isn't following, my cousin was implying, at this age, people are more likely to rush into marriage, aka get a move on. And my opinion was that, at this age, people want to rush things. So what this means is if you meet someone when you're 18, chances are you're not going to be married and have kids by 20. Like, yeah, it can happen and does happen, but often things are taken a little slower. But if you're in your 30s, usually people rush this kind of stuff. So what's the harm with rushing? Well, that's yet another topic for another video. You rush into marriage / kids within 2 years, only to find out, oopsie daisy, now they've shown their true colours. It's hard to put on a facade for more than 2 years. And now you can't stand this person, / they cheat, / they initiate a divorce. Now what? Well, bye-bye finances, bye-bye assets. Say hello to a good chunk of your wages / salary being garnished from each payslip for child support / alimony. Again, all points for another video, but supporting your own kids is not the issue that most fathers have. It's the leech who's attached to the kids, aka your ex-partner. Watch how she changes once money gets involved. It's not just women. People in general get very greedy when money is involved. But usually, when there's a split up, it's the man who has to pay up. You could just identify as a woman though, I guess. Funny how they can't determine what a woman is until it's time for alimony / child support payments. Now, if you were together at 20 and at 22 you realize your partner is a head case, you can break it off. No worries. No marriage / de facto / a three-way with the government was involved. No kids were involved, that's fine. You go your separate ways with your income / assets intact. If you rush into things at 30 and it didn't work out, your income is handicapped for the next who knows how long, and your current assets get fleeced from you, meaning you have to start from a much earlier checkpoint in your finances in the game of life. Now, it's not just men, women are aware of this too. On the Oz Finance subreddit, I've seen some women asking about asset protection from their male partners. These women worked hard and got their own apartments or something. They own their property is what I'm trying to say. And their male partner is thinking of moving in, or they're thinking of moving in together. And now the female partners are skeptical if now their partner would have claim to their assets. So maybe it's different in your country, but in Australia, if you're the one with the assets/money, which is me, you've got to be careful. So the point here is, this is a con of women who are around my age, the age of 28, or older. A lot of them will try and rush things. Rushing huge financial decisions like picking a lifelong partner is a terrible idea, especially since you can run into gold diggers. As I mentioned earlier, most available women my age don't have money. And now, they're panicking since they really need to get their shit together soon. So what's the fastest way to get more money? What's the fastest way to get your financial shit together? Well, get married to some dude who has a lot of money. That way you can split with him later, get his house and alimony, easy peasy. This also isn't to mention the whole ran through or single mum thing, which is also very abundant. A counter argument is, well, you're a 28-year-old who's a good catch since you spend most of your 20s working on yourself. Who's to say other women like this don't exist? Well, you're totally right. You are totally correct. But I am yet to see that. It's more likely that a 28-year-old who's a good catch will be a male. I have 2 friends from my university who are my age. I don't think they've ever even gone clubbing. That's the type of dudes they are. Not degenerates, very homebody type, the type of dude that most women on the internet would like to be with. They barely have any social media either. They also have money. Maybe even more than I do. I don't know. See, I started my earnings journey a lot later than they did, but I have earned more income in the meantime because, 2 jobs. One of them mentioned he had $80,000 in savings when he was 23. He's now 28. I haven't talked to him about savings since then, but when I was 23, I probably had $2,000 or something in savings. He also doesn't spend much either, so he's definitely saved up more. He has been working professionally since 20 to 21. Case in point, good catch. This guy is currently renting, so he has his own place. I'm really unsure why he hasn't bought somewhere yet. I think it's some family reason he hasn't. He's some sort of Italian, I think. And his family's really close. I don't know, it's none of my business. But the point is, I think it's a family reason why he hasn't bought a house yet. Because I know his income and his savings definitely allows him to. But whatever, it's none of my business. He's definitely not struggling financially though. Same with my other friend, although this guy does have his own place. Similar to my other friend. Doesn't spend much, never been clubbing, not on dating apps. He's just a really chill guy. Good career. And they both gym too, by the way, so they're not unfit. But they're not on my level or a fitness Instagram guy or something. But they're not skinny rakes, but they're also not fat fucks or anything like that. But I don't know any women like this. The fit chicks, or chicks with good incomes, are all taken. And they usually got taken in their late teens/early 20s. So these chicks are currently in long-term relationships, but if they have a breakup down the track, then they're a good option as an older girl, if that makes sense. At 28, there aren't many good options, neither at 35, but it's more likely, because of these types of girls potentially having a relationship breakdown, you're more likely to find them at 35. Of course, if they're 35 and split up, that means I'm also 35 at the time, because, they'll break up with their partner years down the track, but years down the track, I'm also even more older. But I'm also talking about the chicks currently further along in life, the older chicks at this point in time. But all these points can be talking points for their own videos. But all the good women who are 28, girls like my dentist, aren't available right now. But if there's a relationship breakdown later on, then yeah, she'd be an older girl, but she's still a great catch. She's just been taken the whole time. It's just at this specific age, late 20s, people are usually in longer-term relationships. The breakups tend to be in their 30s if it happens at all. It usually doesn't happen in late 20s from what I've seen. Obviously, there's no universal rule for this, but it's just what I've personally observed. Again, topic for another video. So to finally wrap up this little section, most women who are available my age are bad catchers, and most older women are also bad catchers. So who's left? Well, the young chicks. Now, aside from the gym bro infatuation with gym milfs, in general, men like younger girls. I am one of them. It's not to say I don't like older women. I like attractive women, but usually the hotter chicks are younger. There's some study they've done on what age men like most in women. Usually it's early 20s. I don't know if there's some biological thing behind that reasoning. Probably. But for me, it's more so women get fatter after that age. Like, how about you don't get fat after your 23rd birthday, and then maybe older men will like you as you get older? Plenty of women who've hit the wall love complaining about how men like younger girls. Yeah, we generally do. But we'll make exceptions for fit girls who take care of their appearance, which, guess what? That's not you. You let yourself go, and now your older age, combined with your unaesthetic appearance, means us older men don't want you. I remember hearing a story once. It was at some university/college lecture, and the female lecturer, who was older, like in her 40s, said something like, "Ladies, you're surrounded by young, ambitious men. This is prime time to find a husband." And what I heard after that was that the women hated that message, since, time to sleep around. Let's ignore these good catches and live my best life. I think it was some manosphere type video where I heard that, but I bring that up because chances are these older women have had way more than enough time in their younger years to find a good man. But what's the bet they were sleeping around instead? It was similar to my scenario I mentioned earlier in the video, how I was talking to a lot of girls in my uni days. The thing is, they were all talking to other dudes too, but they eventually picked one before they got too old, whereas I just locked in after a certain while instead. When they all started turning 21 to 22, they found a long-term partner. When I turned 23 to 24, I locked in. The age gap is because generally, most of the chicks I talked to were younger by a couple of years. Yeah, some women I spoke to were my age, but generally they were 2 to 3 younger than I was. So all of these women I had talked to back in the day had found partners before they got older. That could have been me if I kept at the Tinder/chatting to women after 2020, but I went down a different path. So point is, men generally prefer younger women, and when the options at your age or older are generally pretty bad, most men will gun for the younger women. So how does this relate to the current talking point? Why haven't I taken advantage of the current dating market climate? I'm 28 and single. Is it my fault? You have a dating market you can take advantage of, so why haven't you? If you can't go for women your age since they're trash, and you can go for older women since they're also trash, why not go for the younger women? Well, let's talk about the pros of the younger girls first. 1, not as ran through. There's something I heard called pair bonding. It's like the more sexual partners someone has, the less they're able to actually bond with someone, meaning they're less likely to be a good partner. Some people argue this. They're like, we aren't fucking birds, LMFAO. But that's cope from the hose, regardless of any science behind it. I've seen girls who were hoes over the years get into relationships, and it never works out. Whereas the couples that are going strong have had very low/no bodies prior to their partner. It can't be a coincidence. The couples that don't last were former hoes. The couples that do last weren't into that thing. Interesting. An animal recognizes a pattern. The animal is called smart. I recognize a pattern. Everyone copes. You'll have some people say something different, like, "Oh, that's not what happened in my personal life. I've seen the opposite." Well, good for you, but that's not what I've seen in my life. I'll trust my own eyes over some comment from someone on the internet that I've never met before. So, pro of younger women, less chance of being ran through equals more likely to be a good partner. Pro 2, fitter. This goes for men too. Generally, most men are fitter when they were younger. Not me. I look better at 21 and 28 than I did at 18. Obviously, you can be fit when you're older, but you're way more likely to be fit at a younger age. Pro 3, you can grow together. Now, this argument is weaker than the others. You can obviously grow together with a girl your age/older, But as a 28-year-old who has his shit together, if I'm talking to you as a 28-year-old woman, why the hell don't you have your shit together? What the hell were you doing all of these years? I'm not waiting around for a girl my age to get her shit together. Same with an older girl. If I'm going to date a girl my age/older, she has to have her shit together. With a younger girl, I'm not going to expect this from her. We can grow together as she goes through her uni degree/starts her career whilst I'm a little further ahead, which is fine. I'm cool with growing with a girl, only if she's younger. Like I said, if you're a chick my age who doesn't have her shit together, what the hell were you doing all these years? Most likely, riding the cock carousel. You do see this kind of stuff in most couples anyway. Like, the dude will be a tradie who's already qualified and earning good money at 20, whilst his partner is still working part-time through uni at that age. So they're both growing together, even if one of them is on a high income and already qualified in their career, whilst the other is working part-time and still studying. So being apart in terms of life, but growing together is still a common thing in many relationships. If you want to know my ideal situation, it would be to find someone who's at my level, like in terms of career/income type of thing, and is also fit. The income match softens the blow in the case of a future relationship breakdown. Yeah, you can grow with someone, but there's no guarantee they end up making good income. They could always just drop out of their degree/trade/whatever partway through, or they could drop to working part-time only since they can't handle the full-time workload, meaning they earn a lot less than you, meaning you get fleeced in the family courts in the event of a relationship breakdown. So, I'd want someone with a similar income to me, ideally more, not so I can get their money or get them to pay for everything of mine, but it's so I don't get destroyed later on. It's hedging your bets, like any good stock trader/sports gambler knows. Copers will say love/relationships aren't about money, but these comments always come from one of two people. One, poor people, and they're coping, just trying to convince more well-off people to date them, or two, simps, who need to beta bucks to attract a partner. Look, if you are more well-off and personally don't care about your partner's income, or lack thereof, then that's your life, by all means. I hope it works out for you, but if it doesn't, don't say I didn't warn you. My perspective on this is obviously biased since I'm a CPA, stock trader, and I'll have my own place, and I'm single. Of course I'm going to analyze financial risks and outcomes, and given the fact I have an extremely expensive and valuable asset, which is Australian real estate, I'm going to be protecting that. Yet another point I'll make a future video on, the financial risks associated with a relationship. So anyway, money does matter in a relationship. If you don't think so, your government/family courts will certainly think so. So my ideal scenario is dating someone who's on my income level. If she's not on my income level, then I'm happy to grow with her, only if she's younger. Because if you're an older woman who's not near my level, you're probably not driven enough for me, and what the hell were you doing all of these years? This is why you've heard me simp for my dentist in past videos. She's my age, she's fit, obviously she has a good job, and is super sweet, but she's in a long-term relationship. If you know any girls my age with doctoral degrees and are fit, help a brother out, but I doubt it. So my best bet is to go for the younger girls. I can grow with them, since women my age/older should already be done growing by now, in a way. But they're not, and if they are, they're already taken. Now, ChatGPT has a bunch of reasons as to the pros and cons of younger women. I didn't use these as inspiration, I used my own reasons. But let's go through these anyway. The first reason ChatGPT listed was energy and enthusiasm. Yeah, sure, I guess. I don't really see it that way, but I do get it. The women around my age/slightly younger have gotten less energetic over the years. Like, they don't go out as much, they don't socialize as much. I'm neutral on this. If I had a girl who wants to go hang out a lot, sure, we'll go for walks and shit. If she wants to chill at home, sure, let's do that. At my supermarket shift the other week in the tea room, there was a recent music festival that a lot of people had gone to, and one of the girls goes to another girl, "I'm surprised you're not at insert festival name here." And the other girl goes, "Hell no, I'd rather be in my bed." And she was 19, So you've got a 19-year-old who'd rather be at home than a music festival. Young women have energy and enthusiasm, hey? Well, that depends, doesn't it? Because this other girl would rather be at home than a music festival. The second point, fresh perspectives. Sure, I don't really give a shit about this. Plus, I keep up to date with a younger point of view on things anyway. Skibbity riz huzz don't break my edging streak and mewing streak. So this doesn't really bother me, although it's interesting to see how things are changing. Like the convos with the younger girls at my supermarket gig have shown me how much things have changed at uni since I graduated. Like one of them is becoming a teacher and she's telling me how much the classroom has changed. Although any teacher, even around my age / older, could have also told me this. Third point, adaptability. Increase your stab multiplier from 1.5 to 2 times. That's a Pokemon joke for anyone who gets it. But I guess this also makes sense. Like, if she can adapt to my routine, that's great. I guess it comes under the entitlement category. I found older women are way more entitled. Not surprising. Like, from what I've seen, older women will complain if you can't hang out and suit her routine. Like what I said earlier with my mate who had to travel to Melbourne to see his girlfriend every weekend. She was older, and if he didn't go up one weekend, oh boy, would he hear about it. Now, obviously this can also happen with younger chicks, but they're usually less argumentative from my experience. So another pro of younger women, generally, they aren't loudmouth, obnoxious, entitled bitches. 4, new shared experiences. This is what I mean when you grow together. Like me being able to teach a younger girl the way finances / the economy works would be cool. Oh, gamification, why don't you teach an older girl the way it works? Because she should already know this shit. So I agree with ChatGPT here. It's enjoyable to share this stuff. Teach her how to prepare her resume, how to prepare for a job interview, talk to her about how to negotiate a raise, tell her about my experiences early in my career, etc. 5, physical attractiveness. Yep, already talked about me earlier. 6, reduced emotional baggage. Yep, again, less ran through, like I mentioned with my friend who was talking to their 28-year-old ran through chick. No surprise she was full of baggage. So much baggage the airlines would charge her an extra $1,000 for it. But all this aside, generally men prefer younger women. I am one of those men. So the argument could simply be, why do you like younger women? The answer is, because I just do. I am totally down for women my age / older, but they have to have their shit together. Which, guess what? Generally, they don't. So if I'm going to date a girl who doesn't have her shit together, she's gonna be a younger chick. Now, I'm a fair guy, so let's go over what ChatGPT says about the cons of younger women, and I'll piggyback my points off of what ChatGPT says. 1, maturity gap. Yeah, I can see this, but in my experience, if anything, the older women tend to be more immature. They're more likely to start whinging over the smallest things, whereas younger chicks are more chill. Your mileage may vary, of course. I do get what ChatGPT says here, but if anything, in my experience, it's the older women who have more of an attitude / maturity gap. 2, different goals in life. Yeah, I totally agree. If I wanted kids soon, and she's 21 and doesn't want kids soon, then yep, that'll cause conflicts. But as you can probably guess, I'm not looking at rushing anything, because that's a good way for me to lose my assets and have my wages garnished. But for me personally, I'm in no rush. So in terms of life goals, this is unlikely to be a problem for me. 3, power dynamics. Yeah, I can also see why this is an issue, but the thing is, her money is her money, my money is my money. Decision making like, I don't know, where to buy a house or something, again, I wouldn't rush that. You can have disagreements with this stuff, but it's not age specific. I get what ChatGPT is saying here, but for me, wouldn't be an issue. Any disagreements wouldn't be age specific. 4, social judgment. Yeah, this is a huge one. No doubt I'm going to get some comments saying, you're a creep for going for younger women. Look, dude, if you're so broke and unattractive that you can't get younger women, you can just say that. The age gap in most people shouldn't be anyone's business, but people love sticking their noses where it doesn't belong. I think recently there was some college sports coach who was dating a really young girl for his age. She's like 23 and he's like 73 or something. Yeah, a little odd, but it's none of anyone's business. I have much more important things to be worried about than someone else's relationship who I don't even know either of them. Everyone on the internet is crying about it, But you can tell these people have shit physiques, negative net worth, don't make six figures, no advanced education. They should probably work on that before worrying about someone else's relationship. So yeah, social dynamic can be odd, but these types of comments would come from people who are doing worse in life than you. So what would they know? If you're so smart, why aren't you doing better than me? 5. Generation gap. I guess this is kinda a recycled point. Yes, it can be an issue. Example, stuff I found nostalgic, my younger girlfriend wouldn't know. But it's fine, you don't have to share absolutely everything in common. We all had different childhoods. And hey, it can be nice to share that stuff with someone. Like I'll tell her about the glory that is Crash Bandicoot and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky, and she can tell me about whatever the hell she experienced when she was younger. 6. Perceived inexperience. I think this is also kinda a recycled point. I believe what this is trying to say is the older person has had like 5 to 6 prior relationships and knows how to act, whereas this may be the first relationship for the younger person and they don't know how to act. But in that case, you just learn together. Whatever the point trying to be made here can be countered with, okay, so just learn together. 7. Longevity of goals. Yeah, this makes sense, but wasn't this already mentioned in point 2? So now I'll add some other cons of dating younger women. 1. Social media crap, specifically TikTok. So I'm not so much referring to her posting constantly on the socials. That's a whatever point for me. I'm neutral. Her constant posting or no posting on social media isn't a make or break for me. But it's more so TikTok trends specifically. It seems to be what a lot of them spend their spare time doing, at least from what I've seen. There was some Aberrant Preach video I saw ages ago. I cannot remember which one since I don't watch them anymore. And one of those dudes was like 26 at the time, and he said he went on a date with an 18-year-old girl, and he said that she said she wouldn't shut up about TikTok or some social media shit the whole time. For me, in passing, sometimes at my wagey job, the younger girls will mention something about some social media trend, and some of them mention how they've learned stuff on TikTok. So hear me out with this one. Like, I knew some nutritional stuff about butter versus margarine specifically. Like, I will never use margarine, I'll only use butter. And I knew this from my days looking into nutrition stuff. And they also knew the same thing that I knew, and they learned it from TikTok. Now, yes, it's good they learned stuff from TikTok, but I know these girls. They don't give a flying fuck about nutritional shit / butter. So their algorithms would have randomly pushed that video. So how much time were they spending on TikTok to the point where their algorithm was like, fuck it, here's a TikTok video about butter? The other instance I remember, I was talking to this other chick, she's on a tea break. We talked about random stuff, I don't remember and I don't care. And one of the things she mentioned was how she can't wait to go home and look at TikToks. So how much time are they spending on these social media apps? I suppose this piggybacks off a con that ChatGPT listed, like the generational gap / difference in priorities or whatever. Maybe I just hate TikTok in general, and yeah, young people are free to spend their free time how they wish, but I don't know, just something about the younger girl's obsession with TikTok just ain't it for me. But, with this said, it's not exclusive to younger chicks. I do know older chicks who spent a lot of time on it. I knew a girl in her 30s who used to work at the wagey job, also spent a lot of time on the app. She'd mentioned some TikTok trends to me. I'm like, I'd spend no time on the app. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I suppose this is not age specific, just statistically, I'm more likely to run into a TikTok-obsessed girl if I go younger as opposed to going older. Con 2, they don't have money. No shit, neither did I at that age, which is understandable. But as you can probably guess, I'm not a fan of girls with no money. But like my last point, it's not age specific. And I did also say a lot of available women my age also don't have money. But women my age are way more likely to have some money than a younger girl. I don't want my lady to have money so she can pay for my shit. I need her to have money so she doesn't leech off me. Or at least, we can share shouting each other dinner / a movie / whatever. Now, quick story time. Back when I was at uni, I had a friend and she was 19 at the time. She was also dating a 19-year-old guy. They met in high school. And she was ranting in our group chat at one point because her boyfriend wouldn't give her a loan. I don't know, she needed $600 for something. literally can't remember, and I don't even remotely care either, but she didn't have the money, which was odd because her parents have money. I guess maybe they weren't willing to lend her money for whatever she wanted while she waited to get paid from her job. And she's like to her boyfriend, I'll pay you back, obviously. And her boyfriend didn't give her the loan. He suggested getting one from the bank, and she was so mad about it in the group chat, threatening to go off and be with another guy. Obviously an empty threat. Imagine breaking off a longish term relationship over $600. But the fact she was so pressed about it, I was like, oh, wow. Now, whose side do you think I'd be on? Her boyfriend's or her side, since she's my friend? Well, obviously, her boyfriend's side. Accountant here in case you forgot. Of course I'm going to look at things with a money lens on. $600 at that age is a lot of money. For me, that was like 4 to 5 weeks of work back then. The equivalent loan for me these days, in terms of like 4 to 5 weeks of work, would be literally like $8,000-ish, maybe more. The point is, it's not going to totally break my bank for giving someone that kind of money, but it's definitely going to sting a little. The same way $600 stung a lot back in 2015. He had his reasons not to give her a loan. She's not entitled to his money. And imagine if she didn't pay him back. Now, knowing her, she would, but not every girl would. Like I said, $600 doesn't sound like much, but back then, as a uni student, that's a lot of money, especially because this was 2015 money. Today's rate would be like, I don't know, $1,000 or something, which again is a lot for a uni student. But anyway, if you did loan a girl that money and she didn't pay back and you bring it up to her, what's the bet she'd start a fight about it? If I was a gambling man, and I am, I'd be willing to bet money that she would, knowing some women these days. If I had a girlfriend and she wanted something badly and she wanted an $8,000 loan for it, no fucking way am I giving her that shit. If you don't have the money now for that thing, you don't deserve the said thing. Only in specific circumstances like, I don't know, needing money to pay some legal fee to clear up a real estate loan or you lose your property investment, or for a very good stock trade setup, something that has a time limit. Something like, I don't know, VIP Taylor Swift tickets that would be sold out very soon and she wanted that loan. Nope. If you don't have that money right there and now, you don't deserve it. Sounds pretty cruel. She has a chance for a VIP opportunity and I didn't give her the money for it. But how is that my fault? Just because I have the money doesn't make you entitled to it. Like, I don't know, maybe if I was in a relationship and I knew her well enough, then yeah, maybe I would. But I'd be a lot more likely to deny this loan than to approve it. Who's to say she wasn't putting on an act for a while? Then you let your guard down. Please, my handsome prince, may I borrow $8,000? Okay, my sweet kitten, here is your monies. Oh fuck, she broke up with me shortly after. Goodbye $8,000. And you're a male, so if you dare try and complain about anything, you get told to man up. So if your girl has her own money, you never run into this issue. Well, yeah, regardless of her money, she can still ask for it regardless, but she's a lot less likely to do so if she has her own income/money. But once again, it's not age specific, and my point is, I much prefer a girl who has her own money, which is a lot less likely if she's on the younger side. 3. Societal stigma. Already mentioned it, but I'll talk more on this. So like I said, if there's a decent age gap, you'll probably have some people throwing around the words creep or pedo. I've literally never seen an attractive older guy throw those words around. It's usually from 4 groups of people. 1, younger dudes who are ugly as fuck and have nothing going for them, and the girls they like are going for the attractive, older, successful dudes. So, they're coping and they're bitter. 2, the older dudes who are so ugly and have nothing going for them and are jealous that the other guys their age who made something of themselves and took care of their appearance are getting attention from the young fit girls. Meanwhile, they're stuck with the land whales and ran through single mums. 3, younger women who aren't fit and attractive and are jealous that their peers are getting attention from the older guys. It's the same way how a hot chick always has a fat friend who is like, she's not interested, when you try chatting up her hot friend. The fridge always protects the snacks. 4, older women who are jealous that the successful dudes their age don't want them. So basically, I've never heard fit, successful people complaining about this. It's only unattractive losers who complain about this specifically. You can call me whatever word you want. In the end, I have a hot young girlfriend and you don't. Well, I don't have a girlfriend, let alone a fit young one. But if I did, you can babble whatever you want. The issue here is it can tarnish your reputation. Whenever I hear the word pedo, I assume it's a 60-year-old going after a 6-year-old, but it gets thrown around so much that it's lost its meaning. My mate was telling me some coper at his gym called this 35-year-old dude a pedo because he was dating a 24-year-old. Well, I call him the coper. The coper was his friend, but that's such huge cope. Like, bro, you're 25, and the 24-year-old picked a 35-year-old. Maybe if you weren't such a fucking loser, she would have picked you instead. Cope harder, soy boy. Like, a pedo for dating a 24-year-old? Like, what? Lol? It's like when women call a guy a creep. I've legit heard women call guys creeps, even though they literally didn't do anything. They just looked a little weird. When they called those dudes creeps, I assume they came and, like, inappropriately touched them or talked to them or smacked them on the ass or something. But nope, they didn't do anything. But these girls will chat, and now this poor dude is branded a creep by the girls he's never even talked to. Just because some bitch said so. Sometimes you can't help this. People will talk random shit regardless of what you do. But when you date a younger girl, you're giving these people this sort of ammunition. If I don't date a young fit girl and I stay totally out of the dating market, then I'm not giving this ammunition to people. I dated a girl my age. She's ran through, she's got someone else's kid, she has no money, she's fat, she's just terrible. But thankfully she's not younger. Now people can't call me a creep. Phew. So this slander obviously isn't ideal, and I'm not too fussed on what a bunch of people who are doing way worse in life than me think of me, but this can leak into your career. Like some HR lady who's hit the wall knows through the grapevine that you're dating a younger girl, and as mentioned before, they can be / are bitter about that. So you don't get hired on a role based on that. Yeah, that's a pretty far-fetched example and a bit of a stretch, but it can / does happen. You could miss out on a great role for your career because of this, whereas if you dated a girl your age, you wouldn't get called a creep for that. You'd get called a creep for another reason though, because you're a male and all men are pigs. Isn't it interesting how older women don't get this slander though? My mate, when he was like, 22 or something, or maybe he was 24, he hooked up with a girl in her early 40s. That's a bigger age gap than the 35-year-old gym dude and the 24-year-old gym chick. Why didn't anyone call her a pedo? Oh, that's right, because 1, she's not a male, only men can be pedos, and 2, a 20-plus-year-old is not a child. So I could make up other countless examples, but I will have more to say in another video. But to wrap up this third point, people will talk shit even if there's a large-ish age gap. People talk shit even with a smaller age gap. I recall hearing once in some accounting forum that some HR lady was unhappy with some coworker because he was 23 dating a 20-year-old. Really? Fucking really? Is everyone expected to date someone their age? But are you really surprised? A HR lady being bitter and angry. I'm so surprised. By the way, that was sarcasm. I'm not even remotely surprised. Old HR ladies are always the bitter type. Point 4, you're on different paths in life. ChatGPT had a point for this, but I'll elaborate a little more. So the reason this can be an issue is if an older guy, say in his late 20s, wants kids, but a girl in her early 20s doesn't, that's what can cause issues. However, this also isn't age-specific. You have plenty of couples who are close in age have this disagreement. But this isn't really a problem for me. Like I said before, I am not rushing kids with a chick. So if I found a girl in her early 20s who didn't want kids yet, perfect, neither do I. I'm going to need to vet you over several years before deciding to have kids with you. So those are my most noteworthy cons for dating younger women. There could be more, but they'd most likely fall under the aforementioned brackets. So lastly, on the young women, a common cope from the older women who've hit the wall is only toxic men go for young girls because they're easier to manipulate. What? Where did this even come from? I think the argument is your brains don't develop till you're 25 or something. Aren't our brains never fully developed? Aren't we always learning? Regardless of whatever science you want to throw at me in the comments, this argument doesn't make any sense when you look at the real world. Like I said before, most available women my age don't have good incomes. If your brain is fully developed, why hasn't it gotten you into a good paying job And why hasn't it told you to get your shit together? I know plenty of younger girls on a much better path in life than they are, and they're younger than 25. But apparently their brains aren't fully developed, but the 28-year-old broke, lazy, ran-through chick's brain is fully developed? Huh? But whatever. Classic bitter old post-war women. Say whatever you want. In the end, you have lost. Okay, so we've gone through the pros and cons of the three types of women. Younger, older, same age. So which do I personally prefer? Well, I think I made it clear, but I prefer the younger women. Oh my god, creep, pedo, Nazi, rapist. Hey look, how about you tell women my age to stop being so fat, stop having such a high body count, stop having someone else's kid, stop with a bit of feminist attitude, and get your shit together like I did, then maybe I'll go for them. As a guy with a conventionally attractive face, not vertically challenged, above average body, great career, great education, basically has his own place, a house at that, not even an apartment or a condo. Nothing wrong with those, but obviously they're not as expensive / hard to get as a house. Has a really high income ceiling, high net worth, high income. There is absolutely no way in hell where it's a fair scenario for a guy like me to get stuck with some broke, ran through, bitter single mum. If you disagree with that statement and you think I should be with a girl like that, feel free to let me know what your SMV is, career, net worth. Link me your Instagram with your fitness pics, income levels, what real estate assets you have, and then tell me how much of a shallow pig I am and how you're the smart one for working so hard and your reward after all that hard work is some girl who has an OnlyFans. Now, linking back to main talking point number 3, if the dating market is full of great choices, then why didn't I take advantage of it through these years? The answer is simple, because it's not filled with great choices. Women my age have nothing desirable. The older women are in the same boat, albeit they are more likely to have desirable traits, as they could have come out of long-term relationships by then. So my only choice is younger women, who do have their fair share of drawbacks, like everyone does, such as their obsession with social media and lack of money, but hey, still better than them being bitter and fat. But even then, there aren't many opportunities available, since I'm not at uni anymore, which is where most of the younger people are. And at my gym, I go at night, which is where everyone goes after work. All the uni chicks go during the daytime, as I once did when I was at uni. I mean, it's hard to find anyone really, since my only main avenues are gym and my wagey job. There's no one at my office gig, and even then, it's a bad idea to mix dating and your career. The wagey job is fine since there's couples who work in the store / met in the store, and they are at every store. That happens all the time. And if something goes astray there, no big deal. It happens all the time. The company is used to it. But absolute worst case, if it's unreconcilable, then I've only lost my part-time job, not my full-time job. So finding anyone really is difficult with my lifestyle. I could join some new club / join a new hobby where you interact with people. I know a good one is line dancing. If you're in Texas, specifically around Dallas, I have heard from some Americans that learning line dancing is a great way to meet the honeys, but that isn't really a thing here in Australia. I'm sure I could find some sort of dancing thing to join, but it'd be in Melbourne, which is like more than an hour from where I live. And do I really want to do that? Just for the chance to meet someone? I'm really not fussed on this finding someone thing. I'd rather keep on my own current grind. If the women ignore me at the gym, then that's their loss, isn't it? Oh my god, so arrogant. Yep, find me another fit guy who has his own place with a good career. At most, you'll probably find 2 of the 3, not all of the 3. So with my routine, I'm more likely to run into girls my age or older, who are generally not that great. So why don't I resort to dating apps then? If the younger girls have a different routine to me, and you'll never meet them on my current routine, then why not find them on dating apps? Well, I'm not that fussed on it, as I said before, and this dating app thing will tie into another video. What could you be doing instead of spending that time on dating apps? I've seen some data where dudes are spending heaps of time on dating apps. It's wild. You could be doing so much more instead. But anyway, even if I resorted to dating apps, are the younger girls going to have their age range set to 28 and above? Some of them will, yeah. But when I was at uni, most girls set their age range to around 18 to 22. If you're a girl and you think of a 28-year-old single male, what type of guy do you think of? I'd imagine some fat neckbeard who plays video games all day, which is understandable. That's what I thought at that age too. So if that's what they think, why would they set their age range this high? They wouldn't. I could lie about my age. If you saw my 2024 accomplishments video, I mentioned a part where the general consensus seems to be I look 21 to 22 years old. So I could pass at that, but I mean, lying about your age? Nah, dude. Plus, you could end up matching with some of the girls who know me at my wagey job, and they're going to be like, bruh, I know you're not 22, and then you get exposed. So, all of the three options, as a 28-year-old single male, your best bets are usually the younger women. You're more likely to run into girls your age/older if you have a full-time job and aren't at uni, so you could resort to dating apps to find younger girls, but they're probably not going to have their age range set on a 28-year-old guy. Okay, so I'm 28 and single. Is it my fault? The answer's yes and no. It's my fault because I didn't keep on fishing on Tinder after 2020. It's my fault for deciding to lock in. It's my fault for pricing myself out of the dating market. A guy like me can't be with girls like that, basically what I said before on low-quality chicks. It's my fault for not having low standards. It's my fault for not shooting shots with women I do know at the gym and my wagey job. It's my fault for not really caring that much about dating. But it's not my fault at the same time. It's not my fault the girls my age are all taken. It's not my fault that the available girls my age aren't up to my level. It's not my fault the girls at my wagey job and gym haven't shot their shot with me. Like, yeah, I could shoot myself, but since I'm a man, I'll go to jail for 500 billion years if I shoot my shot, and I'll get exposed on TikTok. So, it is kind of my fault, but it's also kind of not my fault. So, that answers the question. I'm 28 and single. Is it my fault? It depends. I could have done things differently, of course, providing finding a partner was my priority. I am not an absolute giga-chad, but I do have enough genetic factors working in my favor to the point where it's not my genetics that are hindering me, if that makes sense. And clearly, my own accomplishments/achievements are not the reason either. Yeah, I don't make $300,000 a year, and I know some bitches on social media want that, but generally, most just want a good/decent level of income, which I have clearly achieved. But is this something that really bothers me? Again, the answer's yes and no. I'd much prefer being on my own rather than trying to force something with the wrong partner. But ideally, you have a teammate in the game of life. The thing is, I'm on a 2018 LeBron run here. I'm coming up with clutch blocks, then hitting game winners. I'm dropping 40 pieces each game. For anyone who doesn't understand what I'm trying to say, I have a great career, advanced education, good body, make good money, good net worth, etc. I'm doing well in the game of life, the same way 2018 LeBron was doing great in the regular season and playoffs. So yes, I am doing well, but could I be doing better if I had a good teammate? Absolutely. The thing is, I'm LeBron. I want a Dwayne Wade or a Kyrie Irving teammate. I don't want a Cedi Osman teammate. Who's Cedi Osman? Exactly. So he was some dude who didn't do much on the Cavaliers, like most of LeBron's teammates. Girls like my dentist, my age, great career, obviously, fit body, sweet, and demure, are a Dwayne Wade or Kyrie Irving level teammate. But other girls my age, ran through, obnoxious, out of shape, no money, are a Cedi Osman level teammate. Yes, I could still do well even with a teammate like that, but I'd rather just not have that teammate, to be honest. I'd rather carry solo than carry some scrub. Hopefully that analogy makes sense, but I am doing well in life. Having no partner doesn't bother me since I'm on my 2018 LeBron type shit, but if you slotted in a Dwayne Wade or a Kyrie Irving, I'd certainly appreciate that. But if you're trying to slot in a Cedi Osman, nah, I'm good. Now, I could keep talking, but we've gone way over already. So, as you can imagine from what I've said throughout this video, I have heaps to say on this topic, but I've said most of what I need to relating to the question. I'm 28 and single. Is it my fault? So, we'll give a brief summary, since it's easy to forget everything I've said and gone over in this video. Most people in relationships my age today found their partners when they were younger. This could have been me. I did have a handful of really good opportunities that slipped away, but I could have kept trying after 2020 and been in a relationship by now. This is part of the reason I'm single. I didn't prioritize it years ago, but that's fine, since I grinded for the past few years instead, and now I have put myself in a fantastic position in the game of life, and that has also resulted in a higher SMV for me. So being single is not due to a lack of achievements. I'm not some basement-dwelling loser, but my age, 28, comes with some hindrances, most notably the good women. The good teammates my age are all on someone else's team. The only available women left in free agency are pretty trash, and since I know I'm not trash myself, I'm not going to stoop to that level, especially since I'm not desperate. If I go for older women, I generally run into the same problems, but worse. More baggage, worse appearance, but there are some instances where there are good women if you go older. The good teammates who aren't part of the opposing team anymore, and now they're in free agency. The sweet women who are fit and have good careers, but were on other teams that whole time. They're more likely to have a relationship breakdown in their 30s as opposed to late 20s. So, that only really leaves 28-year-old guys like me going for the younger options. They come with their own unique issues, generally speaking, such as a lack of money and TikTok obsessions, but I'd rather put up with this than some bitter old hag. However, there aren't many opportunities to meet girls in their early 20s, since they're mostly at uni, which I am not. Or they go to the gym during the day, when I'm at my career job. You'll get some sub-5 unattractive males and females crying about guys going for younger women, but their opinions are irrelevant since they aren't as attractive or doing as well in life as you. So, who cares? If I was an unattractive loser, I'd probably be talking shit about these types of guys too. So, we'll wrap it up here. Hopefully this video does well, because holy shit, this took me a while to edit. There's many more videos coming up on this topic, so stay tuned if this was something you're interested in. My next few videos may not be on this topic since I'm going to be pretty burnt out from this video once I've finished editing it, but there will be certainly more to come. So, did I rattle your feathers? I'm almost certain there's something I've said in this video that pissed you off. Cool, let me know why you're mad in the comments. Is there something in this video that you agree with? Also let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, that is all.